Doing the right thing, growing revenues through principled entrepreneurship. This session is going to focus on those principles based on market-based management, one of the core principles being principled entrepreneurship. I'm going to let the panel fill you in on each of those principles and what they mean for your business in terms of creating a culture that will make your business sustainable and tie in with your business strategy and operations. So since we have limited time and I want to get right into it, I ask that you go to our app to read the bios of each of the individual panelists, but I will share with you our 5-star panel for today. To my farthest left, we have Taurus Richardson, CEO of IMB Development Corp. Let's give Taurus a rousing round of applause. In the center is Marvin D. Walker, CEO of Day Runner and also a sponsor of this of the Entrepreneur Summit. And we have Scott D. Brown, who is the Senior Director of the GP Foundation. So let's give Scott a great round of applause. This is a exciting panel because as we've gone through the event, we've talked about strategy, but also this is going to focus on, how you can develop your business by some core principles that will be part of your business throughout its life. And it will communicate, one, what your business stands for and how you serve customers and the community. So I'm going to start with Scott. And Scott at the GP Foundation, which is a part of, Koch Industries and Charles Koch developed market-based management, which has been a really embraced program internationally in terms of developing a culture and running your business for
not only efficiency, but for impact. And since GP Foundation is involved in impact, I'd like for you to share with us MBM, what it means to the GP Foundation, Coke Industries, and what it will mean to the entrepreneurs out here.
Yeah, okay, excellent. Good afternoon, everybody. It's nice, I know it's just after lunch and Mr. Peebles, but let me, because we're short a little bit on time, but let me give you the Cliff Note versions of this, and I think what qualifies me, obviously having Marvin and Taurus are principal entrepreneurs, so we'll learn a lot about that, but it's interesting from a community perspective. Started out teaching the Cliff Notes of market-based management, my colleague here, J. Catherine Ross, to high schoolers a little bit over a decade ago. Teachers and young people that are aspiring to be like principled entrepreneurs like Marvin and Taurus. And here's where we think market-based management is so important. Mr. Peebles said something during lunch that resonated with me. You should listen to people who know more than you and who have accomplished more than you. And so when we talk about market-based management, we're talking about a company in the mid-'60s. Charles Koch takes over the helm, and they're at $21 million. And when we fast forward today, we're looking at a company that now grosses over $100 billion. And every time I hear that from you or Alfred, the B should get some claps. So going from 21 million to 100 billion, I would think those in the audience, everyone should be somewhat mindful of this philosophy that does that. So when we talk about market-based management, let me first just say, what is our thoughts on business? And I think business, rightly understood, is very simple for us. It's about improving the lives of people. That's the underlying philosophy, if you will, behind market-based management. And it is comprised of 5 dimensions, pillars if you think, and we won't unpack them all today, but these 5 pillars are vision, decision rights, knowledge processes, virtues and talents, and incentives. And the thing that I'd like you guys, you should look at, we have a book out called Good Profit. There's another book, The Science of Success, that will kind of unpack these things. But I think the thing that we should take away from this type of system is, where does it derive? And market-based management is really the study of human nature, human action. And its philosophy derives from a few ologies. It is the study of classical liberalism, economics, psychology, sociology, anthropology. We've studied governments, and we've looked at the different things that really comprise a free society. And what Mr. Koch is trying to do is take, what are the key ideas, what are the key concepts, what are the key principles that really have allowed mankind to live harmoniously? And you're talking about certain fundamental things: rule of law, voluntary exchange, property rights, the things that have really allowed us as a people group since the inception of mankind to kind of thrive and live together. And he's taken those key principles and concepts and brought them into the business realm, and it's called market-based management. So I think that kind of lays the foundation, and from a foundation's perspective, we feel the role of profit is to take some of those things that we are able to do as a business and then spread those revenues, if you will, those profits into the community to bring about societal change. So business is holistic. It's not just about the bottom line of just serving the customer, but it is this holistic approach that says, if it's done right, market-based management, it serves not only our customers, it serves our community, it serves our employees, and so that really becomes the foundational things of market-based management.
Yeah, and in addition to the 5 pillars, there's also 10 guiding principles. And we're going to go through some of the guiding principles today. Among the guiding principles include value creation, customer focus, integrity, and also, what this session is titled, Principled Entrepreneurship. So as we go through the session, I'm going to ask both Marvin and Taurus some questions related to how they've used some of these principles in building their business. And then I'm going to also have Scott also, amplify why those principles are important to your business.
Sounds good.
So, Before I go to the principles, Marvin, Taurus, I want you to give the audience just a real quick snapshot of what drove you to start your business, a little bit of the history, and then we'll dive into the principles.
All right.
Okay, Marvin first.
Well, a high-level overview is when I got out of the music industry, the economy had tanked, real estate was doing bad, but the internet was affecting the music industry, so everyone had wanted you to now work on spec, and that just didn't sit well with me. So I wanted to get into an industry that wasn't affected by the economy. So I was listening to this book called The Millionaire Mind by Thomas Stanley and William Danko, and they said you either have to be first in the marketplace, have a niche market, or be in an industry that's not affected by the economy, and it mentioned logistics. So I went and bought a vehicle, got a tax ID, and I said, wow, I'm in business. Went and met with the first company and said, hey, I'm Marvin Walker, here goes my credentials, I want to work. And they said, great, we'll pay you 65% and we'll keep 35% for making a connection. And I said, great, that sounds fair. I said, but let me see the contract that says if you get $1, I get 65 cents and you get 35. I need to know what you're billing the customer so that I know I'm getting my fair share. And they said, no, we don't do that. And it didn't make sense to me. So one day, I went and did a delivery, went to the same exact location, delivered the same exact product, drove the same amount of miles, but the pay was different. I went in and I said, hold up. I thought you said I get 65%, you get 35. They said you do. I said, no, I don't, because a couple weeks ago you paid me this, and this week you paid me that. It's the same delivery. What's going on? Well, they kept doing that several times, and I found myself jumping from courier company to courier company, and it's the exact same, behaviors. But I felt as a business owner, when I created a business, I want something that pays me whether I'm working, whether I'm sleeping, or I'm vacationing. And that wasn't doing that. What I did was created a job for myself. And here as of late, seeing what happened with the music industry, with the internet, and then I saw what's happening now with technology. You create these apps, to build your business for scalability. And the last company that I was contracting with, the gentleman felt like I was making more money than I should comfortably have. And he started taking all of my contracts. And it's about the third time that had happened to me. And I said, enough is enough. I said, what if I created an app that could give customers these services? I've been driving now for 10 years, different companies. And I knew what the customer's pain point was. More importantly, I knew what the pain point was for me as a driver and wanting to be a business owner. So I said, you know what? Instead of complaining about it, I'm going to man up and I'm going to be a part of the solution and not the problem. So I sold my house, emptied out my IRA, started developing my platform. And here we are, a year later, 7,000 drivers, working in 14 different states. And I just got tired of being taken advantage of. And that's what did it.
Well, Taurus, I know that, and we've known each other for quite a while in terms of transparency. And I know that you've come from the world of private equity, but it was one of the principles, integrity, that led to your development of IMB. Please share your journey.
Thank you, Derek. Hello, everyone. So in 2009, 2010, I had the opportunity to help sponsor legislation in New York that helped minority and women do business. In the process of doing that advocacy work through a nonprofit, I got fired by pressure put on me by politicians who simply didn't like that I was advocating for something they didn't like. And so after working and founding a business for 12 years, it turned out I didn't know you could get fired from founding your own company, but I did. And so in August of that year, I talked to my family, talked to my then 8, 9-year-old kids, and they said, well, Daddy, you always talk about women and minority business. Why don't you name your company IMB? And so 3 months after getting fired from starting a $400 million private equity fund, I founded something called Investors in Minority Business Development Corp. And it's my belief and my dream that you can create $1 billion business by way of acquisitions in support and in partnership with women and minorities. At the moment, I'm at $100 million of revenue in 3 platforms. We have 8 women that work with me on a day-to-day basis. We bought 2 women companies. We have 2 minority-owned companies. And we're in our journey. And so I'm hoping to find people to put money behind and to develop this culture of not only building businesses through starting them up, but also by helping and enabling people to use acquisitions and capital to get scale.
Let's get started. A round of applause. Taurus's business model is not only is he developing his company, but he's also giving a number of entrepreneurs the opportunity to pursue their dreams.
Right.
And, you know, and that goes to one of the areas that I wanted to touch on in terms of the guiding principles. And Scott, you know, you can buttress the point if I don't give the complete answer, but I'm trying to narrow it down for the audience. But one key is value creation. And core to MBM is to achieve superior results by making better decisions, eliminating waste, optimizing, and innovating. Yeah, so if you could elaborate on that in terms of the principles that you share, or in terms of the processes that you share through the GP Foundation, how do you connect value creation to your mission?
Yeah, as I said a little earlier, I would think the core is value creation. And this whole thing of innovating and optimizing and eliminating waste from a foundational perspective, that is looking at what's happening in our community. What are the societal issues that we feel that nonprofits and other organizations are trying to address? And how can we help them in their practices to become more efficient? How can we help them innovate around things that they are doing to help and improve these communities? The key to value creation, and not so much just on the foundation, is the economic means. And I think we should talk a little bit about that. When we talk about value creation, there's two ways in which one could do that. The economic means is through voluntary exchange. And the other side is political means. And what we really try to get across from this particular dimension of MBM is that we believe in voluntary exchange. There should be no coercion. There should be no fraud. The beauty of this guiding principle is that there's a win-win component to it. And if we're going to enter into business, if the foundation is going to provide money to an organization, we want to establish mutual benefit. We want to make sure that both parties, when we think about value, it's a win-win scenario where everyone sees the fruit of their labor. We all eat. And so with value creation, I think it's really important to come to this conclusion that when we think about profit, it is not just for the consumption of the business. We have to think about the community. We have to think about society at large. And so that's kind of when you start thinking about value creation. And there are 10 guiding principles. And I should just say this for the firm. Instead of having an endless spiral of rules and regulations, what you see that governs Koch Industries and Georgia Pacific and really governs our day-to-day affairs are these 10 guiding principles that really become, if you will, our testament, our commandments. And when you talk about these guiding principles, they really emanate from who we are as a people. They really start talking about the culture that we want to live by. So it's not just the value creation, it is the integrity, it is compliance, it is respect, it is humility, it is knowledge processes. All of these things, once integrated, and we look at these things holistically, they create a culture and a climate that not only transforms the people at Georgia Pacific and Koch Industries, but transforms our vendors, transforms our customers, and more importantly, from a foundation perspective, starts to transform the communities in which our employees live and work.
Those 10 principles are not only guiding principles in terms of how to operate, it's also what entrepreneurs go through in terms of the process of starting a business, you know, in terms of, you know, humility, creating, you know, a system of respect and what have you. You know, all of that is important. And I wanted Marvin to share, in terms of value creation, you created a model where you would not only create value for yourself, but you would create other entrepreneurs and a chance for others to enrich themselves.
Yes, exactly. So, again, when I was driving, I saw that we weren't being treated fairly, right? And I was honestly focusing on myself. So, 2010, took a line of credit from Bank of America. I was in debt $200,000, and I was like, I got to pay this money back. They called me. They were stressing me, and my credit was bad. I couldn't get anything. So a young lady let me borrow her credit for $1,000 a month. And I had to convince her. I said, listen, I got this contract. Here goes $1,000 a month. Please help me. and she got me the 2 vehicles that I needed. And I was working so hard to pay off that debt that the company that I was servicing started throwing me more accounts. They're like, hey, do you know some guys that work just as good as you? And what I just started doing was paying the guys the way I wanted to be paid. So when I would get a contract, I would give the guys the lion's share of the money. If they didn't have a vehicle, because somebody did it to me, I wanted to pay it forward. So I would buy people, strangers, vehicles and say, hey, go make this money and I'll just take a small percentage, right, for assisting you. And if they needed gas money because they ran out, I would have to go do the work. So I would say, no, listen, I'll lend you the money you need for either gas or repairs. And then they would go. And what I found was that by paying a guy what he felt he was worth, he took ownership. But also by supporting him, like I got support, you know, they did such a great job that my company kept growing. I went from 50,000 to $500,000 plus the first year. And I was like, wow. So when the gentleman took all my accounts, I said, I had one account that was paying me $100 a week. And I said, if I could scale this with the one account that I have left, with the $100 profit I make, I would be okay. That's $5.2 million a year times 1,000 drivers. So I created my platform, sold my house, got it up, and then I created this business model that was tiered. With seeing what was going on with the gig economy, since I was creating a platform just as such, I wanted drivers to be able to go through the process and get to the point where they're in a business, because I knew they were financially challenged like I was when I started. So our model is tiered and they could go up, but they had benefits along the way. Hence why our model towards our contractors is independent supported. We'll support you because if I make sure you stay in business, you know, this guy is going to be able to provide more service. My customer is going to benefit because they have a readily resource pool to service them, right? I'm making a little bit, but over a lot of people, the driver's making a lot, so he can pay his mortgage on time, he can pay his credit card, he has less stress at home, right? And the customer benefits because they're getting better service at a very affordable rate.
So Scott, value creation in terms of what Marvin's talking about becomes a win-win scenario, or an enrich scenario. You're enriched, and you enrich those people that provide your services.
Exactly.
Derek, let me just say this for everybody here as entrepreneurs, because I think there's so much you can extract from MBM and these guiding principles, even if you're not working in corporate America, if you're outside the foundation. Here's something that is critically important, because you asked, and let me just answer your question around innovation.
Okay.
I think one of the things that we do within the firm, and I think for entrepreneurs, young people that we teach, is this issue of creative destruction. And I think when you start talking about innovation, one of the tenets, I mentioned the ologies that make up market-based management, this issue of the republic of science, this ability to challenge and constantly challenge the status quo, always understanding that if we don't transform from within, then we're going to experience transformation from without, and it's going to be coerced. So whether it is Taurus meeting with the 8 and 9-year-olds and saying, Daddy, let's do this, and it's being forced upon you when you didn't think you could be fired, innovation many times comes from that. It comes from looking at trends, already anticipating where is the market going. And you know, one of the things we're taught in MBM that I think you may find this somewhat valuable, it is hard to be able to gauge what is going to happen tomorrow based on today's alternatives. And so this ability to take risk, this ability to do the data analytics, I was in one of those sessions, it's critical to value creation, to be able to anticipate profitably where the customer is going and where the trends are going.
Well, that's a very important area, because in terms of creative destruction, you may create even something more valuable and something that will be more of a game changer in society and more helpful to people's lives. In terms of Taurus, in terms of, you know, you're going down or being forced to go down a different path, going through that whole process of creating a new model for value creation, you built, you know, a business that's $80 million, you know. Share how you've applied, you know, value creation to your model, and also look at customer focus, because that's also a key tenet that's a part of the guiding principles as well.
That'd be great. Can I talk about ownership in the concept of starting stuff? There's a lot of entrepreneurs in the room. When I got started, my wife, my kids, who were, you know, 10 and 7 at the time, are all owners of the business. I went out and I asked friends and colleagues mostly for some money. And I got 1,000, 10,000, 25,000, 100,000, whatever it may be from folks. And the intentionality of making sure you get an investor base at any number matters. And so if you are an entrepreneur, I encourage you to ask people to invest. And if you're in the business, if you're in the audience and simply want to write a check for someone, it matters because it's the collective support of each other that helps us have the base not only of the capital, but once you write a check to someone, you become more focused on their success and try to help them, and vice versa. So please don't overlook the value, not just of the dollar, but of the community that's created to help you win when you start the formation of the capital base. As it relates to customers, I'm very focused on women and minority business development. And many people say that, many corporations have supplier diversity programs, and there are many entrepreneurs that are doing whatever they may be. It is my opinion that no matter who you are, there's going to be 2 or 3 people, 2 or 3 companies that get you and you get them. And you have to guard against trying to do too much or serve too many people too quickly. And so my suggestion on customer focus is to try to figure out where you think you're going to be most likely to win a contract, to get value and service delivered in a way that is repeatable from 1, 2, 3 people, as opposed to trying to go out and canvas 5 to 10 large corporations up front. You don't have the time, you don't have the money, and at some point you actually can burn out by just trying to do too much without enough revenue and profit generation early.
Yeah, and what you discussed goes to the core of customer focus, and I wanted to read from MBM as well, just to give everyone a context of it. It's discover, collaborate, and partner with those who can help you better serve your clients and stakeholders. So so collaboration, discovery, bringing in other stakeholders is very important because it creates that chain of customer focus and customer service. Marvin, share with us how you go about your customer focus, making sure that you're in tune with your customers as part of this principle.
All right, very good. So the foundation of our company is the drivers, right? So they drive the transportation industry, they drive the products, everybody. So we wanted to make them our focus, customer first, because no other company was looking at the driver as a customer, they were just looking at him as an employee. But when I'm not driving, I'm doing things, I'm purchasing products, I'm a customer. So we added that value. So the one thing that we do with our drivers, we offer them the value, but then we make sure that we maintain the communication. What other values can we add to enrich you that benefits your life? Like one of the things that we did, and some of our partners here, we partnered with M&F Bank, right? And we created a special checking account to give them benefits, right? As a collective, utilizing the group economics that this gentleman was talking about, and we were able to create something that adds a benefit as a whole to everybody. But our customer focus is always adding value to the people who helped us grow, because through our membership model, we were able to give back to the community. We've given to the Gantt Center. We were able to sponsor this and then to show them the value that what we create when we're giving. So by enriching our customers that way and adding more value constantly, we're able to grow and bring on more businesses because we have so many individuals working collaboratively. And that's what we do. We just focus on them and add value to our customers.
Is there any other points that we should share with the audience as we look at customer focus that they should take away so as they're running their businesses, they can improve their customer service and enhance their delivering of their products or services?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is what Taurus and Marvin have said, and it's kind of capsulized in what we say in that definition of trying to establish and build relationships with the customer. And then the second part of that is so that one can anticipate profitably what their needs are. And I've always looked at that as a little bit of a distinction between customer service and customer focus. Customer service at times, the customer is never wrong, but customer focus really is predicated on knowing that segmentation. Who do you serve? Building that relationship so that mutually we can anticipate what those needs look like, and then we as a company, you as an entrepreneur, based on your comparative advantages, can deliver those services in a way that is mutually beneficial.
But as you grow your business, you know, sometimes you see another opportunity, you see another customer. How do you ensure that as you're looking at that other opportunity or pursuing that other opportunity, you don't lose focus from your core customer or potentially lose that core customer that helped you develop that business? Taurus, I know you've gone through many businesses, including the business that you've developed. You know, any advice that you have for the entrepreneurs out there in terms of that focused approach? when you're
Most of us
pursuing
as
another opportunity?
entrepreneurs are busy, and the notion that you can add another thing to your plate is probably not right. And so, number one, it's a question of resource and time. If it is a true opportunity that you can vet, can you figure out how to either hire another person, raise the capital to help create a small team to go after it, as opposed to trying to put 10 more things on one person's plate? And then secondly, it's okay to pivot. There's a book called Lean Startups that was super helpful to me when I was starting this business. And it basically said, set a goal of a month, a quarter, every 6 months to say, this is my milestone. And be brutally honest with yourself on whether or not you hit the milestone. If the customer feedback and the money and the profits don't happen, be prepared to pivot. And so, even though you have this good customer, it does not mean it has to be for life. And if there's more profit and more opportunity in another segment, be comfortable pivoting, because as entrepreneurs, that's how you're going to grow your business.
I'm going to go to principled entrepreneurship, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. I want to make sure that we get plenty of questions from the audience. And then at the end of this session, we're going to have a special presentation. Principled entrepreneurship apply the judgment, responsibility, initiative, economic and critical thinking skills, and sense of urgency to generate the greatest contributions for company and community. So, Scott, I'm going to have you elaborate on principled entrepreneurship as you deal with the GP Foundation, and then I'm going to open it up to both Marvin and to Taurus to talk about how they've applied principled entrepreneurship in their business model.
Those attributes that you just read, that kind of dovetails into one of those pillars of virtues and talents. The expectation for a Coke company or Georgia Pacific is that all employees operate as principled entrepreneurs, regardless, and this permeates itself throughout your entire organization. So it's not just the CEO, it trickles all the way down. So this risk-taking mentality, this economic and critical way of thinking, the judgment, the initiative, all of these things that we think build up the attributes that you've heard Taurus and Marvin talking about, that is the expectation for everyone in the firm. And it really starts to go from a perspective of property rights. The expectation is in my portfolio, I own it. That's mine. Although it is given by the president of the GP Foundation, the expectation is I own that portfolio. I own those community organizations. So I should treat it as with good stewardship. So that initiative, that risk-taking, all of the things that make up a principled entrepreneur, that is the expectation that everyone in the firm should operate that way. And so when we're interacting with community, if it's a nonprofit leader, if it's an organization, whatever it may be, and we have the 4 pillars of education and enrichment and entrepreneurship and in community enhancement, we want to make sure that those leaders and those firms are operating with that same level of attributes to make sure there's an ROI, not just for the firm, but for the community.
So the principled entrepreneurship applies to the leader of the organization as well as to the employees of the
I think so. Again, it's property rights. You have to operate in such a way that you're not an employee, but you own what you're doing. There's a sense of pride, there's a sense of integrity there. And that's how we really create this value, right? If I feel that there's a skin in the game, that goes to one of those other pillars we talked about earlier, incentives.
Okay.
And that's how you kind of reward our employees in the work that we do.
Okay. So Marvin, Taurus, share with us how you've applied principled entrepreneurship and how it's been challenged in your organization as well.
Can I take this one? So,
Yes.
just to follow up on what you're saying, Scott, I agree with it 100%. And I'll frame it in the word humility, which is one of the guiding principles. And at the end of the day, we all are here kind of by luck, and we're not sure tomorrow's promise. And so whether I'm talking to the 349th person that works for me or the most senior person that works for me, number one is I just have to see them for what they're worth and who they are, and to make sure that no matter how we leave a conversation or experience, that they feel as if they've had a chance to contribute and that we have mutual respect and value system. It applies to customers. Michael Byron from Walmart, I've been doing business with for 20 years, and at the end of the day, I'd make more money tomorrow if someone can call Michael and say, this is what Taurus is like from all my prior experiences. And so the humility factor is simply every person you touch, everything you do, factors into how your success and how your reference works the next day. And not everything's going to go right, but even when you fail, you should be able to do it in a way that is both with humility and also with the respect to whoever you're doing business with.
That's excellent.
Amazing, wonderful answer. Well, for me, it's something that I learned in the Marine Corps, right? It's leadership by example. So I live the principles that I extend to my staff, and I treat my staff fairly, right? All of our contractor members. So my principle comes from my favorite book, and it says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I just created a model that treated people the way I wanted to be treated. And they bought into it because people are incentivized on treating themselves well. So leadership by example is what it is. My staff sees the same person get up every day, go out there and work, and they own it. I have an amazing staff in here, and I want to thank them. They've helped me grow this business really quick, but they're invested, and I know every day that they're invested because of the effort that they put in. And it just comes from, humility, but it's leadership by example. I don't ask anyone to do anything that I wouldn't do myself, and I go out there in the front, and I lead from the front.
Derek, I'm just,
Okay,
that
okay,
is
sure.
so good to me. The principled aspect of entrepreneurship is so critically important from an ethical perspective, that what we do doesn't just enrich us, but it enriches the community, the planet. There's a sustainability, this all-encompassing thing, that if we're being governed by the right values, the right virtues, things just go well for us, and we just don't profit. It's all-encompassing, and I just think it's so important. It's not entrepreneurship. Value-based, principle, it's doing the right thing, it's ethical, the humility and respect. I think it's just so important in these days when business leaders don't always operate that way.
It's about embracing responsibility, not only for your company, but also for the community and the world.
Yes.
I was going to go to Q&A. We have time for some questions. Rich. Pamela is going, has, yes.
Okay.
Pamela has a mic, and if you have any questions, please raise your hand, and Pamela will, come to you. Any questions? I think we have a question out there. Question there.
Hi, my name is Joyce Cooper, and it's inspiring to listen to you because as I transition from being a public school teacher to being someone who's working to help elevate people to the next level, and I'm listening to all of the things you're talking about the value creation and things like that. How would you, how should I plan to build my company so that I have people around me? Because what I've understood is that I have 3 roles. I'm working as my business because I'm a speaker and presenter. I'm working in my business, and I'm working on my business. So how would you recommend I proceed forward as I try to grow my business?
Yeah, I'm going to let you guys on the business. Just from a team perspective, though, I would just say to you, virtues and talents. In Coke Industries and Georgia Pacific, virtues trump. So you hear these 10 guiding principles.
Yeah.
Those are our values. I would say surround yourself with people who have that. And then on the talent side, make sure they have a comparative advantage that can grow not only your business, but enrich your culture as well. So virtues, values. Surround yourself with good folk. And then the talent, make sure they have a comparative advantage at that which you're asking them to do so that they can generate a lot of value.
I do want to say that unfortunately Marvin's going to have to leave for appointment. But I do want to answer the answer the question real quickly.
I was thinking about leaving
You know, you know, what you need to do in terms of, principles. How do you infuse that within your organization?
How do I, I hadn't found out about the principled entrepreneurship until you guys mentioned it, right? And I knew what we were talking about. And again, the only thing that I could say is, I study successful people. I move with integrity. I treat the people how I want to be treated. But then I put in place a foundation that is leveled and fair. That's what, our value creation is fairness and, just treating people the way that we want to, but building the staff based on the value that you need and that they're the right people for the job to grow the business, right? Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I really have-
Taurus? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Marvin. Okay, Matt. Yeah.
Give me the mic, all right.
Okay.
My sense is the easiest way to build early is to be focused. And so if you're going to speak on topic A or topic B, number one, find the 3 to 5 customers that most likely want you to do that. And to have 1 or 2 role models or examples to say, here's how they made enough money to make a living, to build a team, etc. And just be super hyper focused on trying to hit some small goals up front.
I know I had said that we were going to try to have some more questions, but we do have a presentation at the end of this. I did want to go through the presentation. My apologies for the time, but I thought some of the issues we had to go through was very important. And at this time, I did want to go through the presentation, the special presentation, especially since we have some other sessions. So my apologies for all of you who didn't get a chance to ask questions. But right now, we are going to be presenting, in the spirit of this session, the Principled Entrepreneurship Award. And this is going to an entrepreneur that was selected that best exemplified the tenets of principled entrepreneurship. And the award is going to go to Ben McFarland. And let's give him a round of applause. And I want to share with you why Ben is receiving this award. It's amazing. Ben is founder and CEO of Help Bond Me, which is working hard to develop hardware and kiosks and tablets for county jails to create a financial system to deposit and post bail for indigent pretrial detainees, which is a huge problem in this country. Processing credit card payments for bails have been traditionally considered high risk. By using their own currency, Help Bond Me will eliminate the risk of chargebacks and allow funds to be available instantly to county clerks using the Help Bond Me Ethereum debit card. This innovation was so powerful that it was listed as one of the 10 best apps from Black founders on the 2016 blackenterprise.com list. So let's give a round of applause to Mr. Ben Macklin. And we are presenting him with the Principled Entrepreneurship Award. And here to present it is our CEO, Earl Butch Graves, Jr. Okay. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Butch. Okay. Ben, we'll make sure you do that. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Once again, this has been a great session. I think that when you look at your business models, the principles that we talked about with MBM are vital to driving your business forward in terms of creating a culture and creating a process for sustainability. I would be remiss if I did not also thank our sponsors, Koch Industries, for hosting this special session. Let's give our Koch a very rousing round of applause. Let's thank our panelists, also Marvin in absentia. And please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for being a